Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me. Today I am going to be reviewing Persuasion by Jane Austen. So I've read this classic and another classic book so far this month, and I debated whether or not to do a review because it's classic. What are you going to say? So I'm in general, for my reviews, it's not so much, is this a good book or is this a bad book? It is, for me personally, did I like or dislike this book? How did it make me feel? What did I like and what did I not like? So on and so forth. So, anywho, Persuasion, out of all of Jane Austen's books, was actually the one I was the most nervous to read, because I tried reading it years ago and didn't get on with it. But the story I had in my head, that was the one I thought I tried to read. Totally different, so I don't even know what's going on. But my friend sent this to me, and I'm so glad she did. It is such a good book, and I've been looking at these editions as well. This is the Bookishly edition, so basically they take the Wordsworth classics and do their own covers and cover art for them, which is great because I don't tend to like the look of the Wordsworth Classics covers, but I love the flop. So now, it's the best of both worlds. Briefly, what is Persuasion? What's it about? It is the last novel Jane wrote, and as well, it's, I think, generically known to be kind of her most serious, is kind of what I've heard on it. I would agree with that. I loved our main protagonist. The trope for this book would be second chance romance, which I didn't actually know whether or not I was a fan of. I'm just getting more into romances. I've always loved books that have an element of it, but specifically a romance and specifically romance tropes, I'm learning. I'm learning about. But I love second chance romances, turns out. Basically, we follow our main character, Anne, and when we meet her ex, essentially. Not exactly a historically accurate term, but essentially, they were together when she was younger, 8 years previously, and when that happened, her family advised her against it, and she went with their advice and broke things off and regretted it ever since. He left her life, and right at the beginning, this isn't spoiler, comes back into it, and for the rest of the book we're wondering what's going to happen. Are they going to get back together? Well, how does he hate her guts? How do they feel? I really liked the male protagonist, Captain Wentworth. I personally preferred him to Mr. Darcy. So there's that. And Pride and Prejudice is the only other of Jane's works I've read. But this book, the pacing was overall slower. I liked the beginning when it set everything up. And then there's a point where a situation happens, and from there on, the rest of the book, which is the last third, I would say, the pacing's great. There is, though, a chunk where it is this could have been condensed. This could have been not this lengthy on this part. We could have maybe extended the other part a bit more, or just made it a bit overall shorter. It's short enough. It's short as it is. But I really did enjoy it. I quite liked our main character. She's a very unassuming character. Her family, don't like them. Do I like anyone in her family? I don't think so. No, I didn't. No. I definitely preferred the Bennets as a family than this family. So not many, hardly any, is the most accurate way to say, really cares about her. But she, even if she doesn't like the person, she is so considerate of everybody's feelings and doing what will make that person happy, even if they're in the wrong or acting rudely or immaturely or whatever. She will still take into account her reaction to how they will feel, which is extremely mature. That's great for her. Do you know how much I wanted her to throw a tantrum? So much, so badly. There was multiple points where more than a romance, more than anything, I just wanted her to scream. I wanted her to literally like stomp her feet and throw a tantrum, because there's so many moments where certain characters really deserved it. Really, really, I would have applauded her to be like, no, you don't get to talk to me that way. I'm going to stand up for myself here. But that's just not who she was as a character. Honestly, I feel like the perfect blend would have been a bit of Lizzie Bennet and a little bit of her. But that also makes it more realistic, because no one's perfect. Everyone has things that they'd like to work on, and, you know, none of us are perfect. So that does add a level of accuracy and realness to it. Comparing the two between Pride and Prejudice and that, I was really confused, because overall I preferred this romance, because the conclusion, if you like a strong conclusion for a book, amazing. I can handle a bit of a slow middle, but I needed to have a really strong ending, and this did. This ending, it was amazing. Okay? It was fantastic. It was so good, and what I really liked about this edition in particular is it actually showed a few chapters. Basically, I had an idea in my head of how things would go, how things would happen, and that didn't happen. I know. But turns out they included afterwards in the end, just speaking on this edition specifically, they included 2 chapters that Jane had written, taken out, and rewritten. So it had the originals after the fact. And the originals were actually what I had thought would happen. So that was interesting. But I prefer how she redid it. I much prefer that. I think it was much healthier. Honestly, I think it was so much healthier. There's so many, like, a common thing that happens in romances is more often than not, like, things come to a head because of a lack of communication. So one party assumes something and the other one doesn't correct them or doesn't know because they never made it clear in the first place. And then, you know, I'll never talk to them again. Meh. And that always bothers me, and it happens in so many romances and so many just books between characters. And, I mean, miscommunication is a common issue. But with them, even though there was points where she knew there was thoughts or things were being said about her that were incorrect, she didn't immediately correct it. She did to some, not to all. And that's kind of where I wish she'd been more outspoken, to be like, I know you're thinking this, you've heard this isn't correct, this is the truth, and whatnot. But as well, that just wouldn't have fit her character profile. So I just kept wanting these things for her. She did have a good arc throughout. I did quite like her arc, but I noticed more of an arc with Lizzie Bennet. So I don't know, like, there's aspects between the two that I preferred from one to I preferred from the other. For overall enjoyment of the read, for pacing, Pride and Prejudice. I definitely prefer Pride and Prejudice's pacing. And I prefer Pride and Prejudice's family environment. Yeah. But I prefer the romance in this one. The settings as well, I preferred in this one. Just the locations, I preferred here. So there's give and take to both, but because just kind of the lull in the middle, I would say it is a bit more serious. Jane's humor definitely still shines through. I find I was still laughing at points, and she's so good at making you really dislike whatever character she wants you to. You know, she's very, very, very good with that. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Would I reread it? Yeah, I would reread it. I did find it had a bit of a slow start, but I also found that for Pride and Prejudice, so I don't know if just for me that's something I need to keep in mind with all of Jane's books. Maybe I just find them to have slow starts. I don't know. Which one am I going to read next? I'm not sure. I have Northanger Abbey, so I could possibly very well read that one next, more than likely. But yeah, I'm uncertain. So overall, I did really enjoy it. If you're looking for a more shy, unassuming, more or less keeps to themselves but builds beautiful friendships. These friendships that she builds are so endearing and so fantastic, and I really love them. This will be great. You will love this. And Captain Wentworth, he's great, and he's not full of airs or full of himself, or he's just very, they're both very cautious of the other's emotions, and it's just, you can really tell how the feelings are, even if they can't. So I'll leave it there. I gave it 4 stars. I really struggled with what rating to give it, because if the whole book had been like the ending, it would have been a 5, easy. But most of the time I was reading the book, it was between a 3 to 4 in my mind, and it was the ending that like solidified it as a 4. But my ratings quite often are very just emotional, like how do I feel about it, not like, I'm not looking at it in like an academic manner, I'm looking at it in a, how is this book going to affect me in the future and ongoing, and how did it affect me while I was reading it. So anyway, I do really recommend this one. I quite liked it, and yeah, I really love these characters. Like, I just really wanted the best for them. My favorite moment reading it was, I live near a walled garden and it has a fountain, so you can go sit on benches surrounded by flowers and the fountain, and I went and I read it there, and I just feel like that was such an Austen-esque place and way to be reading, and I was very pleased about it. And I did that with another book I've read and will be reviewing as well, so it might turn into a new reading spot for me, but this was the first book I did that with, so I had a great time reading it, and it actually pulled me out of a very intense reading slump, so I'm very thankful to it as well. So yeah, if you have any recommendations on which Austen I should read next, or what your thoughts are overall for all of them, let me know, and let me know what you're reading. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to like, comment, and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.